Okay, so a quick review here of rights as we were talking about. It's used commonly to refer to natural rights, human rights, civil rights. Civil rights are rights that are afforded as being part of a group. So equality within a group is an example of a civil right. And you'll note here I wrote, there's no natural right to vote or to equal protection under the law. Those are not natural rights because those are systems-based rights. You're supposed to be treated the same as other people within a given system. What are natural rights are rights that stem from or are deduced from self-ownership, the fact that you're born owning your own body. If in fact you are born owning your own body, then the natural issue of property rights arises as a means of understanding all rights. So when we talk about as liberty-minded folks, opposition to use of force, opposition to aggression, opposition to unjustified use of force, all of these terms, all these shorthand terms, coercion, whatever, stem from the fact that we have property rights, the more primary issue of property rights. We cannot determine whether any outcome is just or unjust without first determining who the legitimate owner of that resource is. We cannot determine whether a use of force is just or not without determining in what ways it responds to some manner of property rights. If it's initiating force as a means of illegitimately acquiring property from another, then obviously it's a crime. If it's initiating force as a means of coercing others to behave as you wish them to against their natural rights for autonomy, then obviously it's a crime. So, the thing to note here is that for this electoral college topic, the state of ownership, first of all, is known as sovereignty. If you are in a state of ownership over something, that means you are sovereign over that thing. And sovereignty comes into play when we're dealing with the federal state governments because the federal government is the sovereign over whom, Eric? People. No, the federal government is supposed to be the sovereign over whom, Kalina? The states. Who is the sovereign over the people? Right. The states are sovereign over the people. The Fed is the sovereign over the states. And who are the people sovereign over, Eric? Themselves, to the extent that it doesn't violate state sovereignty. Okay, so equality within a group. Now, what does it mean to have initial appropriation of property, Eric? You're not paying a damn bit of attention. Well, what does it mean to have initial appropriation of property? Kalina, you know? It's one of the words we had up there a second ago. It means getting something for the first time, coming to own something that's previously unowned. What did I appropriate as property as an example, Eric? Close your laptop. You cannot pay attention with it open. No, that I use as an example of whether or not my taking of something would be legitimate or illegitimate based on whose property it was. What example did I use for initial appropriation? It was on the floor. The receipt. And what did I do to it? You drew a picture on it. And what did that accomplish for me? You get the receipt. I became the owner of the receipt. Why? Because it was previously unowned, and what else? I mixed in my labor. That's called homesteading. I homesteaded that piece of paper that was on the floor next to the trash can. How did I homestead it, Kalina? Which means I did what? In with a what? And with a resource. In this case, the resource was the receipt. What made the receipt a resource? How do I know it was a resource? It was there. Well, no, I know it was a resource because I was able to do something with it that I wouldn't have been able to do without it. Namely, I was able to draw a picture. Right? I had no little piece of paper, I couldn't draw a picture on it, right? So we know it's a resource because it enabled me to draw a picture, whereas if I had no paper, I wouldn't draw a picture. Okay, so that is called what when you get something for the first time that's not previously owned? Appropriation. What's it called when you get something that's not currently owned? Appropriation. What's it called when you get something that's not currently owned? Appropriation. And what's another word for appropriation in libertarian understanding of property acquisition? No, homesteading. Homesteading. Appropriation is called homesteading sometimes. Because if you appropriate land, you have to homestead it. Appropriation equals homesteading. So if Eric were unowned and I wanted to own him, what would I have to do? Eric? Right, I'd have to build a house on you. I'd have to farm, plant some crops in your body, and then I would own you. But you're not unowned, are you?
No.
Yeah, it means mixed labor plus unowned resource equals now I own it. Okay? So that's appropriation. What's transfer?
It means to split something.
If I say, I now give you this copy, Eric, it belongs to you.
Yeah.
Now it's your property. I transferred it to you by contractual agreement. I said I'll give it to you. That's contract enough. Okay? So then we have appropriation means getting stuff that's not currently owned and owning it. Transfer means taking something you have and making somebody else own it. What about this thing about rectification? What was that all about? Rectification is a subset of transfer. Transfer includes contractual transfer. It includes rectification. That is to say, being punished in some way by having to give up some of your property to another person. Rectifying a wrongdoing that is currently, what do you call it? Outstanding, as they say. All right, so when we're talking about rights, then what is a right defined as, Kalina? What does a property right confer, Eric? Which duty?
You can confer the property.
Correct. And it confers that upon whom?
Everybody besides you.
Everybody besides you. Right. And that's a quick primer on understanding the link between property rights and other kind of rights as an introduction.